Good morning. Good morning. Hi, everybody. My name is Marc Ramos. I'm with the Google for EDU team, Google for Education team, based out of California. It's a great, great pleasure, and welcome to day 2 of BETT. So hopefully you've had a chance to walk around and check out all of our really cool offerings. We have really cool offerings on the devices side, on the apps side, on the content side. I have a very unique perspective about innovation and where Google is right now, and particularly how we can support and enable education globally. My somewhat unique perspective is, despite the innovation, despite the great tools, despite the great content, if teachers aren't enabled, if teachers aren't knowledgeable, if teachers don't have the right skills to understand the basics, but more importantly, to understand how to apply our basic technologies and applications in the class from a pedagogical standpoint, if you're not really crisp on that, if you don't have that understanding, there's a great likelihood we're not going to have a combined success in terms of the deployments that you have. So that's our topic of today. What is Google doing from a professional development or training of educators perspective? What we want to focus on in the next 18 minutes or so is really what is our professional development approach? What's our philosophy? What are we thinking about in terms of what's really going to be useful for teachers and for teaching globally? Also, last night, Google is proud to announce a new web portal specifically designed to the professional development of teachers globally. So you folks are going to be the very first ones globally in a public venue to see this new platform. So congratulations, exciting news. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of what the new Google Professional Development Learning Center is all about. We're going to talk about something special related to a whole new set of certifications and exams that we have available. It's so critical for individuals, for schools, for school districts, for full regions to really be able to demonstrate some level of proficiency. So we're going to highlight all the new certification programs that we have in place. And then if we have a few minutes, we'll also do a little bit of Q&A. All right. If we were to think about 4 specific tenets, 4 practices, 4 approaches that really make our professional development approach different and unique and yet still googly, if I can say that, and useful for educators globally, it's pretty much around these 4 tenets or these 4 approaches. The first one, I did mention beforehand the really big importance of a pedagogical approach. It's not just knowing the features and the functions of Google Drive and apps and Gmail and Calendar and so forth. It's really making sure that we are listening to your how do I apply and how do I teach your technologies in the classroom approach from a strict pedagogical thinking and using the variety of different philosophies, theories, and down-home best practices in terms of really building unique training for you and the teams that you work with. Very focused on a unique pedagogical difference. The second thing is, okay, that's great. We're having a really good approach related to listening to the needs of teachers, building stuff for teachers, but really, is it relevant to my particular needs? Particularly relevant in terms of a global balance to make sure that it's globally consistent. We can get much scale from that, as well as making sure that it's really unique in terms of your particular school and your particular school district's specific needs, as well as by country. Relevance is key. Scale. You've probably heard a few other discussions in the past day or so related to the importance of Google and scale. We have a phenomenal scalable infrastructure. What's really unique is if we can attach on what we're doing from a professional development and training perspective for teachers, on top of that scale, we can actually accelerate a lot more goodness and a lot more value for all of us at the same time. The last key is we have a very different philosophy in terms of the type of training that we want to build and provide. We don't want to go into the marketplace like an army and basically say, here are our programs, here are our teachers, so on and so forth. That's not really our style, and I'll use that word googly again. That's not really the googly thing to do. Our approach is really different. We want to focus on building an ecosystem of folks like yourselves. You guys know your business, you guys know your students, you guys know the local standards that you have to follow in your state, in your country. So we really want to go out of our way to build more of an ecosystem, more of a community that actually builds out the right type of pedagogical approach and the right type of training and courses to meet your needs. All right, I'm going to step back just for a second. There's an underlying theme to those 4 tenets, and that is, you know what, if we really want to build a community, if we really want to drive scale, if we really want it to be pedagogically sound, if we really want to be relevant, we really have to build out a network of teachers that are going to help, ideally, create and build and share this content, these best practices with all of you in as many countries as possible, wherever we can find some kind of consistency. So we need to have a common framework. If we don't have a common framework for teachers to build best practices related to how do I use Google Drive for project-based learning for my English class, yet what you want to build is different, perhaps in Milan compared to Chicago, compared to Florida, I don't really know. If you go out and kind of build stuff for the community with Google support, if we don't have a common framework, a common way to think about goals, learning objectives and so forth, there's a good chance we're not going to have a consistent approach. So this is the framework that we have in mind in terms of the curriculum and the content that's going to drive all of our programs from a professional development perspective. This is very simplistic, but it's intentionally built that way. And sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things to build. In any case, our general concept related to a content or program-fueled framework is really around these three areas. At the foundational level, you need to know the what. What is Drive? What is Gmail? What is Calendar? And by this I mean, how do I actually create a doc? How do I actually share the doc? So this is the baseline. You need to know the tool. You need to know generally how does it operate. The next level up, assuming you know Gmail and Sites and Calendar, just generally what it is, you probably want to know, okay, kind of, I got it. But how do I apply it in my class? How do I make it useful for me as a teacher to become more efficient? And how am I going to make it useful for my students so they can be a lot more effective? So the second tier is applying it in the class. How do I use it in my classroom, as well as with my community, with my teachers? The top of the pyramid is very, very critical. And that is, if you know the basics, if you know generally how to apply in the class, you probably want to go off, use our tools, and create something on your own. So I use the example of using Google Drive for project-based learning. Well, what if you have a very unique lesson plan or a unique topic that you want to focus on for any one particular time frame? You probably want to build something unique for those needs. How can we help you by giving you the right tools to do that? And ideally, in our community, our ecosystems of educators globally who believe in sharing, how can we also help you build and share that content to make it useful for as many people as possible? Okay, so remember those themes, so to speak. What, how, and create and share. I wanted you to think about those themes, and I also just want to introduce our Learning Center. So as I mentioned, this Learning Center was just released a few hours ago, and what I'd like to do is mention a few things. Number one, if you go to our main education site, this is google.com/education or edu, that is where you find our new training and support, or what we're calling our Learning Center. Let me give you a little bit of an introduction. So this is our new Google for Education website. If you go to this tab related to training, this is our new Learning Center. And we don't have enough time to get into a lot of the details here, but I really want to focus on three main unique things that we're doing from an education perspective, starting off with this new online portal. The first thing that you need to know is we are building out a whole new set of online lessons unique to our Google offerings, our Google products. So what we're offering is 12 lessons focused on what we believe are the key offerings or the key solutions to support educators globally. Everything from Google Maps, YouTube, tablets, Chromebook, as well as a lot of our core applications such as Docs and Drive and Gmail and so forth. Remember the pyramid, right? What, how, and create and share. So using that philosophy, that approach, so to speak, every one of these lessons is divided into two sub-buckets, or two buckets. And that is a learn what it is. This is the what. You need to learn what it is. And every part of these lessons, the first section, has a basic introduction to what is, in this case, Google Drive and Docs, as well as a series of videos. In this case, we have a really, really great video from a Google certified trainer, not a Googler, but an educator like yourself, introducing what is Google Docs and Drive. And then if you want, you can also take a really quick self-check quiz at the end. So again, this focus related to these lessons, this first category is about the what. Let's talk about the second category. The second category is, remember the middle part of the pyramid? The how. All right, so how do I apply it, right? So the second category focuses on all those best practices that we've heard from teachers for the past few years in terms of, this is how I really, really know how to use Google Drive for In the US, we call it Common Core. In the UK, I'm sure there's certain standards. In every country, there's some certain standards. This is how I'm using it to meet those particular standards. This second part of any one of these lessons is the how to apply. And since we know there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different ways, different approaches, different best practices in terms of how to apply Google solutions for schools, there's a ton of best practice lessons and so forth related to, in this case, Google Docs and Drive. Any one of these lessons, if you were to break them out, also highlights, again, a straightforward background and then a variety of best practice YouTube videos we've collected from educators globally. You've seen a lot of them live. A lot of these folks are actually on YouTube, as you know, as well. So we work with a lot of global Google certified teachers to collect these lessons. And the videos are there. And unique to any other Google resource, Google education resource, to this particular offering, in this case Google Docs and Drive, you'll find additional resources there as well. So the first big benefit of our new web portal has to do with these 12 online lessons and breaking them into the basics as well as how to apply. And once again, there's 12 of these to start off. The second thing you need to understand about this new learning portal is a new focus on making sure that people have proof of proficiencies related to the skills that they've learned regarding our offerings. I'm going to speak to the specifics here of certifications on another quick slide, but generally speaking, there are 3 levels of proficiency that you might be interested in. This first one is very, very straightforward, very foundational, or guess what, very basic. So the first one is basically an entry-level way to show your proof of proficiency for yourself, your team, as well as for your own professional development. There are a variety of different lessons for this basic level, as well as an exam. The content related to this basic level, the courses online, as well as the online exam, it's free. It's free for you, it's free for your faculty, it's free for your students, it's free for the students' parents. The second level related to certification is, what if I actually want to become a legitimate Google certified person? I understand the basics, but I want something more advanced. That's what we're calling Google Education Educator, or Google Educator in this case. A variety of courses and exams are going to be available. And the last tier, and remember the pyramid again, basic level, certifications. Next level, what and how. I want to be a Google Educator. The top of the pyramid is, I want to go off and build and do and teach on my own to either benefit myself, my own professional development, my business, or perhaps that's just my job. I'm in charge of teacher training for my school. So this next level has to do with the top of the pyramid. I want to be authorized by Google, endorsed by Google, to teach my staff, to teach my school. So that's the second big thing related to the learning portal, certifications. The last thing, very, very briefly, because I know I'm already running out of time. Over the past few years, we have collected hundreds of best practices from teachers in terms of how to implement our applications and our solutions. We've collected those, we've filtered them, we brought them back up to date, we've refreshed them, we built a lot more new resources. So off this resources page, you'll find a variety of different best practices collected from around the world. Main categories are tied to those main 12 areas that I mentioned beforehand, as well as additional categories and in multiple formats. In the next phase of this, we'll be adding in specific levels such as subject, such as ideal age or grade, and so forth. So this is our website. This is our learning path, our learning center. This is the first phase. This is really about harvesting existing content, making it shareable, making it free, making it for yourselves, providing it for yourselves. The next level is where we actually want to build and offer Google tools specific to teachers, so you can go off and build your own lesson plans and your courses as well. Free tools, enabling you using our back end, our infrastructure. Okay, I did spend a little time already on talking about the certification layers. This is another view of that, but I just really wanted to reinforce this pyramid approach. Very simple, but as you can tell, highly, highly scalable. Related to the certifications and exams one more time. Entry level, the what? Take the basics exam. It's free, it's online, you pass at 80%, Google sends you a real colorful certificate that you can print out. Next level, I'm going to become a Google educator. The training there is a little bit more lengthy. It's more complicated, but it's supposed to be, right? And once you pass those exams, you'll also receive a certificate that you can print out and share and so forth. The highest level, using a lot of the core content and so forth, really represents I want to be authorized, and that's a more challenging process. We need to make sure that you actually are representing the right content in the right way and doing it in a googly way. So that's more of an application process, the top of the tier in terms of the certification programs. All right, so a quick review in terms of today's release Learning Center. You can find it off of google.com/edu. A variety of new learning lessons, learning courses, all online. All courses online from this site are free. A variety of new exams and certifications, and then one thing I didn't highlight on the new site is we have a lot of local communities that you can join, either virtual G+ communities or local on-site communities as well. All right, last slide. So I get it, got a good understanding of what you guys offer. How do I get some? Where can I get some? Who do I talk to? We basically have 3 menu options, for lack of better words. The first one's pretty obvious. You know what, I just want to learn on my own, or I want a certain part of my faculty, my staff to kind of learn on my own. So the first option is go to the Learning Center, grab what you want, and from a self-service approach, whether you want an online exam, grab what you need. The second one is, you know what, that's great, but I need an expert, just somebody please, who really knows this stuff, just to come to my school, come to a particular class, come to talk to me, and give me some advice. Maybe do a webinar or a seminar for my class. So that's when you want to hire a local Google certified trainer. And there are thousands of authorized, certified trainers globally. The last option is okay, I understand the basics, self-service. I understand that I can hire a Google certified trainer. I need more than that. I'm doing a large implementation. Hundreds of devices perhaps, thousands of Google apps. Is there a larger entity? Do I hire an army of Google certified trainers? No. Off of our website, you'll find a directory of all of these folks. Google certified trainers and Google authorized organizations that can customize the training that I just shared with you and more for your particular needs. I think I'm getting the boot. So, am I getting the boot? I don't know. Nobody's giving me this or that, so I'm just going to keep on going. So that's pretty much it. I think in the last minute or so, any questions? There's no roving microphone today. That's okay. All right, cool. So hopefully this is helpful. Enjoy BETT and visit this website. I'll be around. A lot of us will be around, obviously, for the next few days. Please come on by and say hello. And thank you so very much.